Are you not drinking? Why? What's wrong with you? Are you sick? Go on, just have one. If you've ever tried to stop drinking for any length of time, you know that it's not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're someone who normally enjoys a few. Hi, I'm Sarah Connelly, one of the coaches at Alcohol Free Lifestyle and the signature program Project 90. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about one of the greatest fears that I had before I quit drinking, and one that many people express as being the one thing that they're really nervous about, which is how to tell other people that you're not drinking. But before I do, if you'd like to get hold of the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide, it's a PDF book that James has written which outlines the process for you to get long-term power over alcohol. There's a link in the show notes of this podcast, and if you're listening on your mobile, the link is at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. And if you're ready to explore the opportunity of joining the Project 90 program, where you get to take some time off alcohol and connect with a group of incredible, like-minded people who are all looking to improve their lives, then all you need to do is schedule a call. It's a free chat with one of our coaches where we get to know you, your situation and goals, and work out whether or not there's a match. If you'd like to schedule a call, you just need to go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule and book one in. So one of the biggest fears many of us have when we think about giving up drinking alcohol is, how do we navigate socially? How do we tell people that we're not drinking? And this is especially pertinent around the holidays. So how do we tell people we're not drinking in a society where it's almost expected of us? I certainly had so much fear around being judged and being labelled. And it's a real fear because this is how society works at the moment. It's almost like if you don't drink, then there's something wrong with you. And this is one of the biggest reasons why people end up drinking, even if in certain situations they don't actually want to. I recently did a presentation for a company who are bringing in alcohol-free alternatives for their staff. And this is a really progressive company. What they've realised is that quite a few people are feeling pressured in corporate events to drink alcohol, and because there's no decent alternatives, they end up drinking even when they don't really want to. What happens is, if you're left at one of these events standing, well, I'm sure you know, standing with a glass of water or a soft drink, people inevitably will come up and start asking probing questions, and at the end of the day, most people don't want to answer, nor should they have to give an explanation as to why they're not drinking. And the fact is, more and more people are becoming aware of the downsides of alcohol. And it's not just people who are in active addiction. It's people who are drinking simply at social situations, or people who just drink a few glasses of wine during the week, but they're becoming so much more conscious of how alcohol affects them mentally, physically and spiritually. And yet we're still living in society where drinking is encouraged and normalised. It's often even expected in certain social situations. So it's not surprising that people think about giving up alcohol in a sense that it's going to be really, really hard. And that's one of the reasons why I love working in Project 90 program, because we flip that on its head entirely. And we look at alcohol-free living as the most freeing, joyful experience you could possibly have. So wherever you're at on your drinking journey, whether you're somebody that's already quit or somebody who's even just thinking about it, the aim of this podcast is to give you some ideas and inspiration on how to navigate social situations if you're not drinking. From what to say to having a plan to make sure that you don't cave in, even when there's that inevitable pressure. When I gave up drinking in October 2019, it was in the summer. And that was pre-Christmas for me because I live in Australia and our Christmases are really, really, really hot. And there's a lot of pool parties and barbecues, and I guess wherever you are in the world, Christmas is a fun time, right? But it also involves here, as I'm a mum too, the pre-Christmas mums get-togethers for the end of the school term, end of year catch-ups, and a host of other occasions. And generally, when I was drinking, those were kind of open slather to get absolutely hammered, as we say in English. And so leading into this whole period, I was really conscious that it was going to be challenging because I wasn't drinking. And there were two things that I was really thinking about at that time. Firstly, should I tell people in advance? And secondly, what exactly do I say? I realised at the time that even the fact that these questions were absorbing quite a lot of mental energy, it was highlighting just how significant drinking was in my life at the time and how accepted and integral it was in every occasion when I got together with certain people and with certain groups. It was also a really big deal for me not to be doing it anymore, because I get it. It was a massive habit for me, and it is for so many of us. And the fear of how to explain my not drinking, that really did get so much mental airtime. It was really around pride, and I was uncertain about how to classify myself. It was a bit blurry. I wasn't really clear in my head why I wasn't drinking, but at the time, I just knew it was something that I really didn't want to do anymore. But thankfully, because I guess I'd reached a point in my life where I was more interested in what I wanted than what other people thought about me, I decided it was best to be transparent and just say it how it is. A short, simple piece of truth in the end. And what I used to say was I was drinking too much and I felt like beep, so now I don't do it anymore, or words to that effect. Now, this response was really easy. The first time I rolled it out, I was nervous, but in actual fact, most people said, good for you. No one can really disagree with the fact that alcohol makes you feel like. So it was really interesting because, in fact, quite a few people said, I wish I could do that. Or if they didn't engage, it was more a sort of curiosity, but it wasn't judgy. So I chose not to pre-warn anyone unless it was my family. What I started to notice, in fact, was that people were more intrigued than they were judgmental. And also, over time, I started to realise that the people that wanted to talk about it more were people that potentially were questioning their own relationship with alcohol as well, which in many ways gave me the motivation to be more confident in delivering my alcohol made me feel like line, because the more confident you are, and particularly the more happy you appear on delivering the line, definitely also makes a difference for people that you're talking to. If you go into that situation and you're miserable and you're like, yeah, I'm not drinking, and you make it something negative, then people are a lot more likely to want you to feel better. And what better way than to offer you a really nice cold glass of Sauv Blanc or whatever it is. So when I've delivered my line, and even now, I tell people I'm alcohol free. I just like or love life way more without drinking. And when it's delivered with a smile and with some confidence, people kind of do get really intrigued and they get excited to ask about it. Because truth be told, I think more and more people are becoming conscious and waking up to just how damaging alcohol can be, not just to them, but to those around them. They're starting to see it affect their productivity, their moods, their relationships, and particularly as drinking escalates. And I've found this over the last few years through COVID, that the role alcohol is playing in many people's lives has become really quite destructive. So a little tip for delivering a line that you're not drinking is to share it with confidence and to share it with your heart. Just be honest with people. No one that is really worth being in your sphere of influence, being in your friendships, is going to try and force you to do something you don't want to do. And everybody that's worth knowing will have your best interests at heart. So as I've found in my own journey, this response has evolved over time. But the most important thing is for you to really know why you're not drinking at the heart of it, and then find something that you're comfortable sharing with others. your decision not to drink might also have a positive impact for those around you. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, quite soon before I quit drinking, I met a guy who had given up drinking for a year, and he wasn't drinking at the time, and he told me that he couldn't imagine ever going back to it. And at the time I was knocking back my wines, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, how can this guy be so happy and confident? And he was a really successful guy, had a business, a wife, kids, and he just shared with me how much better life was for him, alcohol-free. Now, that would have been probably about 6 to 8 months before I finally decided to quit, but it planted a seed for me. And I think that's something else. It's not the main agenda, but if you're brave enough and strong enough to stand in what it is that you believe and what you want for yourself and your life, you also give other people the permission to do the same. And whilst it might not be immediately evident, and you may have to cop a bit of flack, it certainly, in my experience, had a real ripple effect on the people around me. So, you've decided that you're going to take some time off alcohol. Maybe not quitting for good, but maybe you're just going to have a break. And you've found your line that you're prepared to use in social situations, and you feel really comfortable with it. What next? Well, I think it's important as well to cover in this episode some tips and strategies for navigating social situations as a non-drinker, above and beyond having your own unique line to deliver. And one of the things that I have found to be the most helpful is alcohol-free alternatives. And in the last 2 years, there's been an explosion of alcohol-free alternative options on the market, from top-end champagnes to white wines, beers, and many of the major alcohol producers are now bringing out 0% versions of their top products. As an example, Heineken Zero. But what does that tell us? It tells us that demand is there, and it tells us that if these brands are recognizing that there's a need and demand for 0%, it means there are more and more people who are now also preparing their lines at home about why they're not drinking. And alcohol-free alternatives are a great way to kind of diffuse potentially tricky situations. Now, personally, they've been a game changer. My first experience of alternatives was when I was going on a weekend away with some girlfriends, and historically we would have had a case of top-end champagne, but I had decided I'd already stopped drinking, and I was really conscious that I didn't want to go to this weekend just drinking water or diet soft drinks or whatever. So I started to do some research, and I found an alcohol-free champagne. This is just under 2 years ago now, I think. And I was so delighted, the thought of being able to drink a champagne with my girlfriends but not have the downsides. Since then, it's been an absolute game changer for me. I have my own wine cabinet at home with a range of different alcohol-free alternatives, from red wines, white wines, rosés, and I don't drink them every day, but if I'm going out for dinner or if I've got people coming over, I have a champagne with them. It just doesn't have alcohol in it. So I encourage you as well, as part of this exploration of alcohol-free living, to go and explore what possible alcohol-free alternatives might be available to you. If you Google alcohol-free alternatives in whatever country you're in listening to this, there will be, I guarantee you, 3 or 4, if not more, online stores that are now selling top-end alcohol-free alternatives. And for a few recommendations, my favourite champagnes are the Naughty, Noughty, Naughty champagne. I can't tell the difference, and it really does give me that sense of celebration. The other thing I would add is, just as a cautionary note, that if you're new to alcohol-free living and you do feel like alcohol has been a problem for you, then I would recommend waiting at least 3 months before you try alcohol-free alternatives, because I've been told from other people that they can inspire you to want to drink the real thing. So just be mindful and just use common sense with it, that you don't want to leap straight into the alternatives if alcohol addiction has been an issue for you. There are so many options, so do some research and find something that you think you might like. There are beers, wines, even spirits now, so take your time and hopefully you can find something that you feel comfortable with. One thing to add to that is just proceed with caution, particularly if you are somebody that's really struggling to let go of alcohol, because they can be a bit triggering. Many of them do taste like the real thing, particularly the beers and the wines. So just using common sense here. And for some of you that are listening that may just be looking to cut back, one thing that I have found has worked really well for many of my friends is drinking non-alc alternatives during the week, and then they simply enjoy alcohol during the weekends. I've also found with some of my friends that has ended up in them almost preferring the taste of the alcohol-free alternatives. So go ahead and start exploring, because it's a really great way to at least reduce your intake if you're considering cutting back, and potentially it may lead to deciding that you actually prefer the alternatives. So the tips so far on how to navigate social occasions as a non-drinker. Number 1, have your line ready. Decide what it is that you're going to say about why you're not drinking and deliver it with confidence. Be happy, be proud. I call the Project 90 members the emerging leaders. I really believe that people that are taking their relationship with alcohol seriously and really looking at it and exploring whether or not it's serving them in life are ultimately going to be the leaders, because I know for a fact that more and more people are questioning their relationship with alcohol. So number 1, have your line. Number 2, find some alternatives. It doesn't have to be an alternative that emulates an alcohol drink. It could be, as we talk often in Project 90, just a really nice glass of fresh lime squeezed into a fresh crisp glass of soda water. So have the alternative and make sure that when you're out and about you've got access to it, so you're not tempted to go back to drinking because that's just what's on offer. The final thing that I would recommend is to have a plan, because oftentimes, and this is just from my personal experience, I've gone to events and I've been really enjoying it as a non-drinker, but there does come a point where it stops being as much fun, and that's usually around the 2-hour mark, when most people are starting to go a little bit downhill and not be as interesting to chat to, for the reason that I'm sure you would know I'm talking about. So what I have always done since I quit is have a strategy. It's become well known now in my circles that I'll just leave usually around 2 hours. It's become a bit of a joke. Everyone knows, like, Sarah's off. But I kind of love that. You know, I go and have a great time. And then as soon as I'm starting to feel like the things that I'm talking about to people won't be remembered by them the next day, then I hop in my car, drive home, and go and hang out with my kids, watch some Netflix, do something enjoyable, go to a yoga class, do something with my life that's productive and rewarding while everyone else keeps going. So have a plan. It's really important, and make sure that the people that are with you, that are close to you, know what you're doing and why you're doing it and are supportive, because when you have that support, it just makes all the difference. What we work on in Project 90 is people using a platform that we have in the program where they can actually just check in with other people on the program to get support specifically for those social situations. And that works really, really well. So have somebody that you can count on, that you can call, or that you can go and visit, or just check in with a text message saying, I'm heading off now, I've had a great time, but I'm out of here. And you'll find that people are very accommodating, very understanding, and you're doing exactly the right thing for yourself, for your health, and for your alcohol-free journey. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you found some of the tips in this podcast helpful. A reminder, you can get the free alcohol freedom formula from alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. There you will get heaps of tips around how to start your alcohol-free journey. And if you think Project 90 might be the program for you, then you can hop on alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule and book a call with one of our coaches. It's totally free, and the purpose of it is just to find out whether you're a fit for the program and whether we're a fit for you. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I want to load you up with some free stuff. If you look in the show description, there's a link there to get my guide, which is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide. And in that guide, I will walk you through the process and system for successfully reducing or quitting alcohol. It's the same system and process that I give to my clients inside of Project 90. And if you would like to get your hands on that guide, you can click the link in the description part of this episode, or you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Likewise, if you would like to be considered for Project 90 to join our community and get some accountability, some coaching, and have fun, achieve some goals over at least 90 days with our help and support, then you're invited to schedule a complimentary coaching call with one of my coaches. You can do that by clicking the link in the show description or going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. Now, Project 90 is for over 30s only. And it's really for people who are ready to get long-term power over alcohol. You don't have to quit forever, but you will have to quit for at least 90 days with our support. Just a reminder, 95% of my content is free and plastered all over the internet. If you just Google James Swanwick and the word alcohol, you'll find that. For those of you who want additional support, if you want coaching, fun, accountability, if you realize that you can't do this on your own or you just plain don't want to, then I invite you to schedule that call and we can talk about if Project 90 is for you. If you would like to take some of my supplements, swanvitality.com is the website. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. I have a liver support product called Loving Liver, which I designed and specially formulated to help remove toxins from your liver after years of alcohol consumption. Again, there's a link in the show description. We've also got a green powder there, which turns into a green juice filled with amazing ingredients to support you and give you energy throughout the day. And there's also a magnesium product, which I take every night to help me prepare for sleep and to sleep through the night. So there's a few options there. Lastly, if this episode or the show in general has helped you or supported you in any way, I would so appreciate it if you would write a review. It really does help the show climb the rankings and expose the show to people who don't yet know about us. So if this show has benefited you in any way and you feel compelled to pay it forward, just writing a short little review, hopefully a nice one, will be so appreciated, and I will thank you immensely. Lastly, if you'd like to talk to me about anything at all, feel free to send me an email at james@alcoholfreelifestyle.com. I do read and respond to every email. And you can also follow me on Instagram at James Swanwick. Send me a message there. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Catch you on the next one.